Welcome to Staples.
Staples guy, I just got to town and I need a presentation printed for a big meeting tomorrow.
Well, Staples has everything you need to print, scan, and fax.
Great. Oh, just got a text. The home office made changes to the presentation.
No problem. You can access your files from a USB, email, or the cloud.
And the meeting isn't tomorrow, now it's today.
Our machines are self-service, so there's no waiting.
And it's not here. Now it's in Ebensburg.
I hear it's lovely this time of year.
Print, scan, fax, and copy at Staples, your office away from home.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Life's Twist Show with your hosts, Terry Robinson, Lance Conley, and Eric Harrison.
Hello. Good evening to everyone. Welcome to the Life's Twist Show, and we are glad that you are here with us this evening. We are, every week, we debate about the different topics that we're going to talk about, and we try to find things that are very relevant to what is going on in today's society when it pertains to sports, not only at the pro level, but at the college level, at the high school level, and even at the grammar school level, all around. Because we realize that transition stress is there at all levels of sport. So tonight we are going to deal with AAU sports. And the name of our show, of course, is AAU Springtime Ups and Downs. So really we're kind of focusing on AAU basketball a little bit because the basketball season for a lot of teams is close to being over, if not over. And many AAU teams are starting to gear up right now to go out and go in the springtime and the summertime as well to go ahead and start these teams up all over the country so that they can compete. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce my cohorts, well, man, that didn't even sound right. My colleagues or my partners, and the first one is Lance Conley. What's up, Lance?
Hey, good evening, Eric. Look forward to talking about the AAU sports and the impact it has on kids, both positive and negative, and look forward to having some callers call in. It'll be a good night, so looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then last but not least, my man Terry Robinson. Like I said, we've been talking about this subject for a while, and Terry's done some great research, and we look forward to what you have to say tonight, Terry.
All right, look forward to it.
All right, so we just going to jump right into it. Terry, you could go ahead and give us some introductory thoughts on the subject, and I'm going to look after the caller. So before we really get into this, I'm just going to let you guys know the call-in number. The call-in number for this evening is 323-642-1579. That's 323-642-1579. Man, what's up? My tongue seems all tied up. Anyway, so yes, please call in. And we're going to keep giving this number periodically through the show so that you'll be able to call in and chime in on exactly what we're talking about. Terry, go ahead and give us a brief preview of what the show is about. And then also, as callers come in, I'll let you guys know. So take it away, Terry.
Okay. Well, everything we do is about informing people, obviously, so that we can make better decisions in long term, short term and long term. And, I was looking at some documentaries, and I ran across one that's called At All Costs, and it was talking about AAU basketball on the West Coast. And it was really interesting, and the first thing that came to my mind is, because I know a lot of people that had kids that played in AAU, some had good experiences, some had bad experiences. So I wanted to try to, open up this discussion so that we can get parents involved. So that, like I said, so that we can make better choices for our kids. And, in my opinion, I think that there's good and bad in everything. And there's definitely some good and bad in AAU based on what I've heard and what I've seen. And then in AAU there's different levels, where you have the elite all the way down, and there's a cost to each one of them. ironically, the ones that are the best, they don't pay a dime to play or to travel. They just, they taken care of, which is how it's set up. And so, and then Kevin Garnett just happened to make a statement, a week or so ago about the current, some of the current NBA players, that came from the AAU world, and how they unappreciative and don't realize that they have to earn everything at that level. Then you had a lot of coaches firing back at him, saying, did he forget where he came from? If it wasn't for AAU, nobody would have known who he was. He wouldn't be where he is. And sometimes when we hear these messages, we take things out of context because, it's just a soundbite. You don't get the whole story. And so I wanted to open this up for discussion, for a couple of different reasons. One, so that we can make better choices for the kids. Secondly, to give the parents a chance to give their opinion because they're the ones that are dealing with it. Plus, as an LET group, we're concerned about, what people go through in terms of sports, the whole approach to sports, the longevity of sports, even towards the end, where there's not a lot of resources. Most of the resources for athletics, regardless of what sports you play for, comes on the front end of sports. When you're on the back end, when you're on your way out the door, there's few resources there. And at that time, we need some kind of resource, especially with the grieving process that you go through when you're finishing up that sport. So that's what this tonight is going to be consistent of, pretty much.
Awesome, Terry. Awesome. Lance, go ahead and give us your introductory statement. I think you've got some ideas about the whole situation as well.
Yeah, I think it's important. We're talking about the book, and and I prefer to talk to the young kids because that was my experience with my stepson, Benjamin. He was really good in baseball, and he started AAU baseball when he was like 8 years old. And obviously they have tryouts, and they take the best players. It does take money, and again, the positive thing is that as a parent, you get to meet other parents. Kids get to travel to Kansas City, Minneapolis, Omaha, all over the Midwest, and especially at that age, and they get to stay at hotels and go swim and have pizza parties and stuff like that. But what I began to notice as they progressed year after year is all of a sudden, at the beginning of the year they had 12 players, 15 players, and then they continue to recruit because for them it's all about improving the team. And then, the parents pay all this money to have their kids play, and all of a sudden they're not playing, or they over-recruit over them. And to me, what kind of message are you sending to the kids at that age, 8, 9, 10 years old? They have practice, 3 times a week. And to me, just, sitting back and observing the process, it's good for the kids because they won. I think they were, ranked nationally like number 3 or 4 in the country for that baseball team. And I think one year they made the Little League World Series. But, one of the things I noticed is some kids don't have a good experience. Some families don't have a good experience because, to me, it becomes more about winning and less about the process and the experience for the kids. Because ultimately, at that age where Terry talks in the book, you're automatically programming the kids. It's strictly about winning. It's about, putting the best team out there. And that's at 8 years old. I can see at the high school level where kids start to advance better and they learn, they become a little bit more advanced in their thinking that, it's okay because obviously we have to learn how to compete. And there's always winners and losers. But at that age, and it seems like that's the pattern, is we get these kids younger and younger and expose them to all these things that, are sometimes adult type things. Kids that's 8 years old don't need to learn to compete at that stage or that much intensity or scrutiny because, believe me, those coaches and fans, kids make mistakes at that age. They let them know it. It's amazing to me to see how good they are, but at the same time, they're also exposed to, things that they necessarily shouldn't be at that age. So I'd definitely like to talk to, hopefully have a couple parents call in, talk about what they would see the benefits of having their kids participate in those type of AAU sports. We got basketball, football, wrestling. I mean, AAU is across the spectrum because it's big money. People see the opportunity to make money, and they're going to exploit it. And the last thing I'd like to see is exploited in that process. So that's kind of my view on that. I'll let you kind of share yours too, Eric.
Well, you know what, Lance, the thing that I think that gets me the most about AAU is this. I really wasn't exposed to it very much coming up. All my exposure to basketball was either in the local public park outside. I really didn't even do a lot of gym time, playing in the gym. We played a lot outside at our park, and then we played in the gym every now and then. But and the competitions that we had were more so with the kids from our neighborhood. And then as we got older, we competed against guys who were outside of our neighborhood, and we would travel around and play against them, or they would come and play us. AAU basketball in Chicago really wasn't that big. At the time, it was more so, like I said, parks playing against each other. We had the Prairie State games, Terry, if you remember Prairie State games, and the top players would play against each other in that. So we didn't know what AAU was. AAU really got popular, I would think, probably, I would almost say like mid to late 90s. And as I did my research, I noticed that AAU competition has been going on, my God, for a very long time. So my exposure came from seeing elite players play in these AAU tournaments that were huge against other elite players from other parts of the country. So my exposure to it coming up or growing up was, man, I got to get into this place where these elite players are so that I can play. And then if I didn't, then I would go back to my park district, or I'd go to, CYA or whatever. I'd go to whatever, my church, wherever it was, and go play and hone my skills. So I'm really interested to hear what people have to say about this from different parts of the country, because I really wasn't exposed. And then now my exposure to AAU is more so like, I do see kids playing. I do see parents paying a lot of money. But then I had the opportunity to be around big-time players. And by being around those big-time players, all I knew about was, the big-time tournaments, the huge Nike tournament, the huge Adidas tournament, and seeing the best players go to these different tournaments. So I'm really looking forward to hear what everybody has to say. And with that being said, we actually have a caller that just called in, and I'm going to go ahead and let him get in on the line. So I'm going to get him in. Good evening, caller. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Great.
How are you?
Great. Lance, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over, because I think this is someone that you asked to call in earlier.
Oh, hey, Jennifer. How you doing tonight?
Well, hey, Lance. How are you?
Good. Hey, we were just having a discussion about AAU, and I believe you have a child playing in AAU baseball, don't you?
Well, he plays in 8U. I guess, is that the same? Youth sports?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, exactly. And one of the things we were talking about, kind of the benefits and the kind of the pros and cons of, kids participating in AAU or, that type of program. What do you see as some of the benefits and some of the, I guess, the pros and cons of your children playing in that type of situation?
So technically I have two boys that play 8U and 6U, and I see the benefits being, they learn to develop their large motor skills. They have they have to learn communication skills with other players, other adults, like their coaches. They learn respect for the game, respect for others, respect for fans, respect for umpires. They build relationships through having, teammates from different schools maybe. not necessarily different communities, stuff like that, but also, for health and wellness. So those are some of the benefits.
How many games a year do they play? Yeah. Well, how many games a year do they in the summer? How many games do they play?
We usually have at least one per. We usually practice at least one time per week. We have at least one game per week, and this year we have 6 different tournaments that we're in, and we play from April until the beginning of August. So, and that's just for the 8U, because we have that schedule already. So, we practice year round though. We took 2 months off in the fall.
Now, as a parent, obviously you get to go to the games and stuff like that, and you see some of the interactions.
Right.
What do you see as a parent? Just observing other parents. How intense is it?
Sure.
How important is the wins and losses? How are the coaches? Just your impression of a 6 and an 8-year-old playing sports as a parent. Wanting to monitor that and making sure your child has the best experience possible.
Okay, so first of all, I have to say that my 8-year-old has more experience, so my 6-year-old, it'll be his first real year of getting a little bit more competitive because the coach pitches to him and stuff like that. So more speaking towards the 8U, I feel like they learn a lot more, and it's a little bit more serious than, we've played through the Y. I love their programs, but my 8-year-old, I'm not saying that he's special or anything like that compared to other kids his age, but he needed more than that. He was bored. It wasn't fun for him. Everybody got a turn. Everybody, they would bat through the lineup every time. And as a parent, seeing him bored, not having fun, that wasn't fun for me either. I'm not the type of parent, though, that loves everybody gets a trophy because they participated. And that might not be what everyone wants to hear, but life's not like that. You don't always get to be the boss of the company. You don't always get to have, a scholarship to school for grades. You're not always on top, and you don't always get rewarded for everything you do. So I think that's a good lesson for my kids to learn, and we talk about it, though. There's a difference between, everybody gets a reward, not everybody gets a reward, and what we do in our family. But I think that it puts a lot of pressure on the parents to have those conversations, because my kid wants to win. He wants to do well. When he doesn't, he's emotional about it. I think that's okay to a certain extent, but he's also got to be a good loser, and so we teach that.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's some of the challenges at that age, and and we definitely appreciate, because I know you have to go to work here, Jennifer, and gosh, we wish you could stay longer because we'd love to have you longer. We'll probably have a show next week too. We'd definitely like to hear from you again because I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into that, but I don't want to take all your time. And, you did a great job. And before I let you go, I did a bad job of introducing you. We also had Terry Robinson here and then Eric Harris. And so they're both a part of this show too. And I'm sure that they appreciate your calling in and sharing your time because to us it's such a huge issue, and one of the things we talk about is how we program young people early on in sports and the impact it has later on. And so we would definitely like to have you continue to call in again, and great insight, and definitely appreciate it, Jennifer. All right?
Sure. Thanks, Lance.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Great job.
Thank you.
All right, we've got another caller calling in, so I'm gonna let him in. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Hello. You're on the air. I think there may be something going on with their phone.
Okay.
We have another caller here. Let's see. I have another one here waiting as well, so hold on one second. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say that again.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually calling from Chicago.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and I have a 13-year-old who's being introduced to AAU basketball. So I'm calling in today and listening today to get as much information as possible to educate myself as well as to educate him on what to expect and what not to expect.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
So can you tell us a little bit about his experience so far? Your son's experience?
Thus far, it's been great. I'm hearing a lot about funds that are being allocated, but as of now, we haven't been asked to provide any funds for his participation in any AAU games. So I'm a little curious about that.
Right.
From what I'm hearing, it is a good thing.
Well, there's different levels. Maybe he's at the elite level or heading in that direction. Because once you get to that elite level, is he?
Yes, he is.
Okay, so so it's a good chance that you'll have a more positive experience than some of the ones that don't make it to that level. And the reason why, obviously, when you're at the elite level, you have more resources. What does resources mean? It means money. A lot of times they have these shoe companies backing them, like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, or the Jordan brand. You have all these different major shoe companies backing them, and so that's very helpful, because then you don't have to worry about the cost of playing. Your kid can just go out there and perform. But at the same time, you have to make sure that whoever is mentoring your child, coaching, teaching, that person has your child's best interest. Because whether most people realize it or not, AAU it's a business, and a lot of people that are coaching these teams or running these teams, they're running it as a business because that's how they make their money. That's how they make their connections, and so they're always looking for that good player. Because I don't know if you're familiar with Jay Billis, who is a TV commentator. He used to play for Duke some years ago. And he made a comment about AAU basketball players. He said once you get an elite player, that player is now an asset. So that's kind of how they look at it. So your child, he's in an elite program, is an asset to that program. And those programs are brands. They're trying to protect their brand. I'll give you an example. It's a program out in Compton, California, one of the best AAU programs, elite programs in the country. They produced 29 professional NBA players on that one team since 2013. And numerous kids from that team have gone to Division I, so that have gotten college scholarships. And so that, you have to have what's the bottom line? What do you want to see your child achieve by being involved in this type of a program? What are you guys' goals? What are you looking for? What do you want your child to achieve? Is it a college scholarship or just have a good experience and exposure? Or is it the NBA? What?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, definitely, the exposure. But what I'm finding with a lot of, AAU games that he's participated in, they're a run and gun type of thing. I would like for him to know the fundamentals and be taught the fundamentals at every age level, at every level that he goes into, for someone to, make this fundamental of the game more powerful, not just the run and gun, the jump shots, the shoots, teach the kids the fundamentals, and I'm not seeing that, and that's the only negative that I feel about it.
Right. Because
I have a question for you, ma'am. When you were choosing the AAU team, what went into that decision? Did they approach you? I'm sure you had multiple opportunities. What made you decide to choose the team that you chose? Just kind of that as a parent, when you were investigating or checking into that. What was some of part of that decision making? Hello?
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
we're here.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. Did you get that question, ma'am?
yes, I did. I says we actually I didn't do any investigation. He was actually playing at the Park District, enjoying, a summer afternoon, and was approached by an AAU coach. So it's like our first experience, our first exposure to it. He's only 7th grade, and this was last year in the 6th grade. So now that he's playing so much and getting so much more exposure, I'm having other coaches come to me about him joining other teams. So that's where I feel like, okay, I need to educate myself about what this whole league is about. Now, my goal, hopefully, is, if nothing else, for them to help him get into college scholarship. NBA is so far off, but at least a college education is what I'm looking for at this juncture.
Yeah, that's so important. And I would always recommend the parents. A lot of times AAU coaches, have a kid come into the program. Take the time to sit down and interview the coaches and kind of ask them some questions about their program and find out as much as you can about the coaches, about past players, what they're experienced for. Ask for, if you could speak to any other parents in the past that have their kids have participated in the program. Again, I encourage parents to get as much information as possible in that situation. So that'd be my advice. To you, ma'am.
So, what do you recommend a child at this age play for multiple teams if there's no financial burden on the parents?
As long as he loves playing, I would. That's my opinion.
I'm sorry,
he's having a good time. I said as long as he's having fun, he's loving it, and people are treating him with respect. And like Lance was saying, this is Terry. Like Lance was saying, you have to interview those coaches. You have to know who your kid is being mentored by, and what their motives are. And I think the only way you can do that is sitting down and spending some time with them, getting to know them. If they don't want to get to know you, then my child don't need to be with this program.
Exactly.
So you have to be mindful of that.
Exactly. And then Terry, on top of that, I just want to chime in and say this. Lance said something that was very powerful. You have to know what your goals are, and then you have to make sure that those goals are something that your child or your son really wants to do. Because sometimes what we do as parents, and I made this mistake as a parent, is that I had certain goals and aspirations for my son to get a scholarship, to do these types of things, and it wasn't necessarily at times what my son wanted. And when they ask you to make that commitment on these elite teams, and it sounds like your son is on an elite team, they want big-time commitment, sometimes commitment that even takes away from regular school and then other things that you may want to do during the spring and summer. So you knowing your goals and you knowing exactly what you would want out of it, and then making sure that it's a conscious decision between both of you guys, then that would wind up being the best thing as well. And then that's what you can discuss with the coach.
Okay, that's good information. That's good information.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for calling in, and hopefully you can continue to listen to the show because we're going to have some more people calling in. Thank you very much for calling in.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, we have another caller here, guys, so I'm going to let him come in. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you just fine.
Yep. How are you guys doing?
Good.
My name is Miles Harrison. I just wanted to join the conversation on the AAU sports from a basketball perspective, seeing that I've been through it and, been around the AAU game for a very long time now, probably since I was about in 7th grade. And now I'm 22 years old, playing at the collegiate level on full scholarship. The first thing that I want to say to all the listeners and all the parents calling in is that AAU basketball is not end all be all, you know, to your child get a free education. But it does help. It does help, and it does have its perks. But as all three of the hosts are saying, you should have a relationship with the coach. And if the coach doesn't want to talk to you, if the coach just wants to talk to your child, that's probably not the best situation for you, because your child is an extension of you, and at that age, especially at the younger ages, child shouldn't be making a decision for for himself yet. Even if he is independent or anything, he should be consoled by somebody that actually cares about him, and not a coach that is getting paid, to win games. And another thing, like he said, it's a money making business. It really is. A lot of the coaches, you got to watch for people who, the first thing they're doing is ask for money, or the first thing they're doing is, it's money, and you're not reaping any benefits from it. Or if it's all, like, you have to be on a team that actually travels, and when you get to the high school level, you have to be in the right tournaments that are NCAA sanctioned, because you could be paying these coaches, which they're not going to tell you. You can be paying these coaches, and you can be in tournaments that are not even NCAA sanctioned, and you're not going to be seen by coaches, or you're not going to be seen by the scouts that you think you're going to. And these coaches are not going to tell you these things because they're in it to make money. So these guys are telling you guys the exact right things, that you have to do your research. You can't just it's a money-making business like anything else. Like somebody tried to sell you some socks on the street. You have to do your own research. And then even if they do tell you something, do your research further than what they tell you. My best input for a player is to try to find somebody that played for the team or played for this coach and see how it went. It may not be the same thing for you, but it's just good to have another opinion before you get into it, because this can be a dirty business, or it can be something that is very, flourishing for yourself. So it's just a lot that goes into this AAU basketball thing, and I'm glad that there's some parents that actually, are calling in and want to know more about it.
Exactly. You know what, Miles? Man, you got some you've made some great points, and you've brought up some really good things that many parents need to consider when they get their kids into these AAU sports at all ages. What we're going to do right now, Miles, we want you to stay on with us, because I know Lance and Terry probably have some questions for you, and they kind of want to dig a little bit deeper into this situation, because you've actually played on many different types of teams with all types of players. So we might want to know a little bit more about your experience and what you went through. So what we're going to do right now is that we're going to have a commercial, and then right after the commercial break, we'll be right back with you, Miles, and we'll ask you some more questions. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sports is a common denominator in the lives of people everywhere. Our celebration of sports creates an environment that gives athletes an amazing experience that enhances their lives. Athletes work long and hard to be the best at that thing that gives them so much elation. But what happens after the athlete is done? When a circumstance comes up and they're no longer able to play that sport? Whether it's the high school athlete who doesn't get that scholarship to go to the next level, or the college athlete that doesn't get picked in the draft, or even the professional athlete who now has to retire and find something else to do day to day. Many athletes struggle with this transition from competition to regular everyday life. This transition causes trauma, and that trauma often leads to depression, anxiety, anger, and even health issues. Author Terry Robinson noticed this problem and researched it and came up with the book Athlete Transition Stress. This book deals with the subconscious programming and conditioning that goes on in an athlete's mind while participating in a sport. So if you or anyone you know are dealing with these issues related to transitioning from a sport, pick up the book Athlete Transition Stress and share your story in our global community online at www.letgroup1.com. Athlete Transition Stress is available on Amazon.com and on the LET Group website at www.letgroup1.com.
All right, we're back. And, man, the book, Athlete Transition Stress, I can't say enough about the book. Again, it let me know a lot of things about me and what I was going through as an athlete and how me transferring or going over into the real world and doing things very differently and seeing myself in a different light. Instead of just a person bouncing the ball or running up and down the court, I saw myself as somebody that was in society and that could do a whole lot more. Lance, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you because during the commercial break, you mentioned that you had a couple of questions about the AAU process and really what goes on with it. So, and Miles' experience. So go ahead, Lance.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to, share my appreciation for you coming on, Miles, because I think you have an awful lot to add to it, and your experience is, valuable as far as sharing with other people. Because we do have, other people, mothers, fathers on the line, so you can really help out. But when we talk about AAU, and obviously, how old were you when you started AAU, Miles?
My first AAU team, I was in about 7th grade, and I got picked up actually at like a park district type thing, like almost the exact same way that the caller before me said her son was noticed. I was just regular playing, and the coach approached me and told me that he had a team, and I started from there.
Okay. And what advice would you give to the mother that called in previous as a person that kind of went through the process? And I'm sure you went from you played on multiple teams, I take it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The advice that I would give the mother. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
No, go ahead.
The advice that I would give the mother would be make sure that her son is being pushed. Make sure that it's competitive for him, because the more competitive that it can be, the better player that he will be in the future. Easy is not always good, because there's somebody else who's playing against somebody who's better than them and actually getting better. If it's a situation that he comes home from every day and he's down, or he's very sad about it, or his spirits are not high, then that may be a situation that you need to remove him from, because at the end of the day, it's a game, and regardless of how good the team is or how much notoriety this team gets, if he's not having fun, then that's not a situation that he needs to be in, because that can take his love for the game away quickly. So that's just the advice that I have. Make sure that it's a situation that's competitive and a situation that he can actually fall in love with.
Hey, Miles, this is Terry, man. I got one quick question for you. I know the phones are blowing up and Eric's managing it, man. So I just got one question, man, I want to ask you. Now, the mom had actually said, her biggest concern was, what about fundamentals? So how do you think fundamentals play into AAU basketball, and what would you recommend that this mom do to help her son with fundamentals?
Oh, that's a good question.
To help your son with fundamentals, I would say that would have to be outside of the AAU basketball, because these AAU coaches have players from everywhere, and they don't have the luxury of being with these kids every day. So with the AAU team, you get together probably once or two times a week. The practice can't be too fundamentally sound because they have to get a feel for playing with each other so the best product can be on the floor. Now, fundamentals and skill work need to come in outside of the AAU practices. That's what separates you from the other kids who are just going to practice and not doing anything outside of practice. That's the big separator. Me being around players who have been – I'm sorry.
You sound like you're going to be a coach, man.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And just one more thing. Me being around players who have separated themselves from the rest of the pack, it always is the work that goes in outside of practice. The players that put in the most work are a lot of times that are the best players. It's not like they wake up and they're just good. These guys put in work, and day after day. It's not just 1 month, let's get it in. No, it's month after month, year after year, putting in work, working on their craft. So that's how you could get fundamentally sound. If you don't know the game yourself as a mother, you can find somebody that genuinely wants to help. And I'm sure that there's somebody out there, but the work outside of practice is the way to separate yourself from the rest of the pack.
Thank you, Miles. Appreciate it, man.
All right, guys. We got another call on the line, Miles. Thank you very much. We want you to stick on and listen a little bit more. And we're going to bring this next caller in. So without further ado, hello, caller. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Oh, good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon. It's your good friend Danny from Brother to Brother.
Good.
Right. How you guys doing? Good. Look, what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you got a question for us, caller? Because I know you're Danny's a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine, and he is the president of Brother to Brother, which is a nonprofit organization that, man, has been involved with all kinds of stuff, from feeding families to providing clothing for kids. And also, man, Danny's got an insight on all of this stuff. So, because Miles, the young man that just spoke, Danny also helped to provide a scholarship for him to do ACT tutoring so that he could get his ACT score up so that he could go to the next level, which that really didn't have anything to do with AAU. So Danny really can speak to this subject, and also he's helped AAU teams, and also his son has played on AAU teams, and he's been involved. So, Danny, go ahead, man. We want to hear what you got to say about this, because I know it'll be good.
Hey, so my question is for Miles, and what I want Miles to do is Miles been playing basketball.
He just dropped off, Danny, but go ahead and say it anyway.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, but I think he's still listening. Go ahead.
No, my question would have been for Miles to stress the importance of the love for the game and the switch from the love of the game to the educational piece, because they go together, and one is more important than the other one. The educational piece is so important, and I just didn't get everybody's call, or I might have missed some calls. But another piece is very important, is that AAU is a business, but if a kid really got potential and really want to get to his potential, then it goes back to skills, right? So if you don't learn the fundamentals of the game, it just don't matter. And he said something very powerful about putting the work in. I mean, you could use basketball to put the work in and build up that habit, but you need to take that habit and then move it to an education on how you study, on how do you build a career after basketball or any sport. I think is just very important, and I always just like to harp on the education piece.
Hey, Danny.
I'm going to sit back. Yeah.
Hey, Danny, wait, before you go, dude, tell us about your career, because you played basketball as well, man. And I know you was in the Milwaukee area. What was AAU back then? Like when you was playing?
No, we didn't have no such thing as AAU and these pretty gyms. We had concrete. Okay, we had concrete and asphalt. Okay,
right.
And the local high school might have, if you was lucky and you lived in the suburbs, they might have had a running track. So you went out and you ran in the morning and you played basketball from morning to the sun went down. But that was a discipline. My thing was I loved basketball so much, that's all I knew. And so in my life coming up, I became a good basketball player, but somewhere along the line, I missed the education piece. I didn't literally learn how to read and write until I was 36 years old. I've been in corporate America since I was 20. I'm 57.
Hey, man, that's a whole other show. That's a whole other show. Hey, man. Hey, I don't know. This man has been through a lot, but for real.
So, schools, educations, people, most basketball players that are anywhere decent got a decent personality. So they're able to sell themselves and sit in classrooms and go to sleep and wake up in time to go to the gym. Back in the early 80s, they changed where you had to have a grade point average. When that happened, a lot of good ball players lost out because we just wasn't getting taught. We were there for our skills of basketball. So it still happens today. You look at the colleges and you look at some of these kids and some of the decision making they're making, they're not really educated. They've just gotten along far enough to get money for that college or whatever. So education for everybody is to stress there's a lot of great ball players. There's some Michael Jordans. I've seen more than one Michael Jordan. So, I mean, the ones that you don't see, is a lot of it has to do with education.
Man, Daddy, thank you so much for stressing that, man, because it is big. And I just have to say this about Brother to Brother again. It's an organization that I've been a part of for well over 10 years. And this message that Danny is giving, he gives it to every kid. And even though, and he gave it to some of the best kids out there. I mean, there's kids that we're not going to say their name, but Danny has counseled some kids that are in the pros right now and actually helped them to get education more so than the basketball skills. He wasn't training them on the court, but he definitely helped to train them in the classroom. Guys, we have another caller, but Terry or Lance, do you have any questions for Danny before he goes? Because we got a little time.
I just wanted to make I wanted to make a comment to Danny, because I definitely agree with what he said. And the bottom line is we need more exposure in terms of education, because we got all the exposure to basketball or whatever sport it is, but the exposure as far as academics and education is limited. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, create a balance. And what you're doing is good, is great work. We need more of that because we're out of balance. And that's why when it comes to the end, we don't know how to figure it out, because we haven't been exposed.
And remember, some of that's intentional. It's not by accident. It's intentional. Pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to the Trumps and these people that do photo ops and all of this other stuff. It's all for show unless you really get in and make them give what you deserve. It ain't going to just come. They ain't going to just give it to you. You got to take it. I'm not going to go biblically on you, but biblically it says you need to go take what is yours. It ain't going to just come. You got to take it, and you got to teach our kids to go how to take. Don't settle.
Exactly. Man, Danny, thanks a lot. We got another young person on the line.
I'm going to just be listening, but, hey, love you, boys. Keep up the good work. And like I said, all we got to do is multiply.
That's right.
Man,
love you guys.
Danny, we always love
thank
you. Yeah, thank you, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, caller, you on the air. I think I may know this dude. Who are you?
It's Kendrick Nunn.
Man, what's up, K9? How you doing, man?
What's up? How you?
Good. Yeah, now let me introduce him, guys. Man, I've been around this kid for a very long time, man. He grew up with Miles. They both played at Simeon High School together. They both played with Jabari and, man, many other Division I players. Kendrick was, big time in Chicago. I mean, all city, all state honors. He went on to Illinois, played at University of Illinois, and right now he's at University of Oakland. He's a left-handed assassin, and Kendrick has played on some of the top, most elite AAU teams. So, guys, we definitely can get some good perspective from Kendrick, and then maybe we'll have some questions for him as well. We got about 9 minutes left in the show. So, Kendrick, go ahead and just give us your view on AAU, what you thought about it, and what was your experience?
Man, I think AAU was a great experience, man. As a player growing up, that's what kids enjoy the most, playing AAU, getting to travel with that team and play different areas, multiple games at a time in one day. That's the fun of it all. That's what kids like to do. AAU was a great experience. I loved it, man.
How many games were you playing a day? And when you were playing AAU, I guess that's my question. When you were traveling, where were you traveling to, and how many games a day were you playing?
We would travel to different places, like in the EYBL system, Cali, Texas, Florida. We would travel different places around the U.S. We would play for a weekend. Sometimes it'd even get up to 2 or 3 games a day. If the tournament is going that fast, it depends on the pace and how many teams in the tournament.
Would you say that's how you really developed and gained your confidence? Did it come out of AAU or did it come from Simeon? I'm a Chicago guy, man. I actually played against your dad. I was at CBS, he was at Simeon, so I know you, and I've seen you play in high school. But what would you say? Did you develop and gain your confidence through high school basketball with Simeon or AAU, or a combination of the two?
Definitely a combination of the two, but I think it really started off AAU because, you could start AAU earliest, man, middle school. So, I mean, that's when I really gained confidence traveling national team, playing in national tournaments, AAU real early. That's why I really got a lot of exposure and developed as a player.
Would you recommend that for other young guys coming up? I mean, because you played at the elite level. What about the other guys that maybe they can't play at that level? So, what would you recommend for a parent that's trying to get their kid involved in sports, and maybe they're not as talented as you were? So, what would you tell them?
Man, I'd definitely tell them AAU is the way. It don't matter what level you on or how good you are. You can get on the AAU team. You get that exposure to play different teams around the country, any level.
Okay.
So
you're a winner, man. So I know you want to be with the ball.
Exactly. Hey, Ken, I'm going to tell you, man. Ken, I really appreciate you calling in, man. Plus, man, I ain't heard from you in a long time, so I got a bone to pick with you, man. So we going to talk after this. You need my number, man, so we can talk, man. Lance, were you trying to say something? I cut you off, Lance. Were you trying to say something, Lance?
No, I was just going to ask him what his experience was with the coaches, outside of basketball. What did AAU teach him? Just different things like that, because we did have a parent call in earlier, and she was kind of, wondering or, wanting some answers, because she has a son that's 13 years old, and, kind of wondering what team he should play for, if it's good to play for. What was your experience outside of basketball when you were with the AAU, as far as, you said the traveling, the relationships with players? I mean, what else did it do for you?
Man, it builds a relationship with coaches as well. Just getting to know coaches, because this AAU is like, it's organized basketball, but it's a lot of freedom and I would say fun, a lot of excitement. It's not taking it seriously as a college game or a high school game. It's a lot of fun going on in the summer. I think it built a lot of more relationships and tight bonds within players, also coaches and parents as well.
Man, that's great, Ken. Listen, the show, we got about 5 more minutes in the show, and I think Terry and Lance, we got a few more things to say. But, man, man, I certainly appreciate you calling in, man. You surprised me, man. And one thing, man, dude, and one thing about you, man, I got to say this right now while I'm on the radio where everybody can hear it. Man, I'm so proud of this dude. I remember when this dude used to come by the house, man, and him and Miles used to hang out all the time. And, man, he worked so hard. That hard work thing means a lot. And this dude worked hard. And he worked hard. Listen, he talks a lot about basketball, but he worked hard in the classroom, too, to be able to get his scores up, to be able to get his grades up so he could go to University of Illinois. So we need to stress that. Again, we talk about the education piece. And by the way, Ken, do me a favor. Hey, man, I know you pretty much on that schedule to graduate, too, right? So, you know, you're doing your thing in the classroom, too. So, hey, man, I got to give you love there, too, man, because we want to definitely keep it balanced. But, hey, man, thanks for calling in, man. And I'm going to be talking to you soon.
Problem.
And be on the lookout for him at University of Oakland, guys, because he's going to do big things. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, all right.
Yep. Hey, guys, that kid's a great kid, man. You know, and, man, this show has actually went in all types of directions. So we got about 4 minutes left. So, Lance, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it and take a couple of minutes and kind of wrap this show up. And maybe we may even need to talk about this again next week because I got some more people that are texting me and hitting me on Facebook that want to know a little bit more about this. But, Lance, how would you wrap this show up?
Basically, you know, we appreciate, you know, the mothers that called in. You know, they shared their different experience. We had basketball players call in, and we had coaches. And really, you know, our goal is to definitely talk about transition stress. And really, you know, AAU is such a big industry. It's a business. And, you know, we had an opportunity to talk to a couple players that have been real successful. And, you know, they talked about the education piece, too, and I can't stress that enough because we always got to prepare and educate our kids for the emotional transition away from sports. And and to hear that they're doing well in school is great. So I mean, and I think we need to have a couple more shows, you know, talking about this because there's so many different perspectives. People have so many different experiences. In the AAU, you know, there's been some good experiences, some bad experiences. I think we need to capture the whole spectrum of the AAU experience.
Man, I agree wholeheartedly. Terry, go ahead, man. Hit us with what you think, man, and how you and what your thoughts are on this subject.
Man, you know, for one thing, it's a great show. You know, anytime you can bring a lot of people together to give a lot of different perspectives, I mean, you can't get any better than that. And so I don't want to take away from what we accomplished today. You know, I appreciate all the people that called because they gave valuable insight. And it takes a team, you know, to accomplish anything, in my opinion. And today we had a great team. You know, not just the three of us, but everybody that called in. I mean, they had some valuable things to say. Hopefully we gave the parents some good information, you know, something that they can pass along to their kids because they want to see their kids be successful, and we want to see them be successful. More importantly, we want to see them be successful when it's all said and done. And like Danny called in and said, education. Everything is about education. And this is a part of it, what we're doing, educating people. And so, like you said, this is one of those shows where you just don't have enough time in one show to talk about all the things that we could talk about, go down all the different rabbit holes. So this is a great conversation.
Right. So I'm gonna say this, guys. I'm gonna say this, then, guys. Real talk. We need to talk about this again next week. We need to have a part 2. Danny, I know you're still listening. I know the mother that called in, I can see that she's still listening. Look, I want everybody to be able to call back in and we could talk about this a little bit more because AAU is really starting to take over sports and our kids, and we need to get a better understanding of it. So do you guys agree?
I agree.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. So,
and we did get a chance to talk about the Kevin Garnett and all that stuff.
Right.
So
we gonna come with it next week for sure, man. So anybody who's listening right now, please make sure to tune in next week, and we are going to bring this whole subject back up again. So until next week, thank you from Terry, Lance, and Eric, and we look forward to speaking with you next week. Terry, were you about to say something?
Yeah, one thing. If you're gonna call back next week, please, if you got Netflix, check out At All Costs. It's a documentary. It's strictly about AAU and on the West Coast in California. It's very insightful. At All Costs. If you got Netflix, it's a documentary about AAU basketball.
Okay. So At All Costs, Netflix. Check it out. Come back next week. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. We're going to get deeper into the issues, and we're going to get into some of the bad things that happen with AAU teams. So, and not just the good. But it was good to hear the good this week. Thank you, Kendrick. Thank you, Miles. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Mom. We appreciate you all, and we look forward to hearing from you next week. Until then, talk to you later.
Thank you for joining us on the Life's Twist Show. When you have a chance, please check out our website at www.letgroup1.com and see all of the things that we'll be doing over the next several weeks. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
You'd have to be pretty long-winded to name all the batteries we carry at Interstate All Battery Center. That's why we got World Livestock Auctioneer champion Blaine Lotz to help us out.
How about a double and a triple and a quadruple A, C, and D? Smoke alarm, 9-volt. Watch your key fob battery. Got 'em. We install 'em. Cars, every make and model. Boats, motorcycles, and the golf carts too. Battery check. Free for you. Cordless tools, a 14.4 and an 18-volt. Power bank charger.
If you need a battery, we're sure to have it, along with the expertise to find what you need. Interstate All Battery Center. Find a store near you at interstatebatteries.com/stores.com/stores.com/stores.com/stores.com/stores.com/stores.com/stores.